Exclusive, EU staffers condemn unions, continued apathy towards Palestinian crisis, demand official ceasefire call. Amidst the escalating humanitarian crisis in Gaza, over 200 staff members from EU institutions and agencies have voiced their profound concern over the union's apparent indifference to the plight of Palestinians. In a strongly worded letter addressed to the EU's top officials, these staffers have accused the organization of undermining its core values and jeopardizing its mission of promoting peace. The letter, signed by 211 individuals in their personal capacities as citizens, opens with a vehement condemnation of the October 7 attacks. Citing the January ruling by the International Court of Justice that suggested a credible risk to Palestinians under the Genocide Convention, the letter warns that the EU's continued apathy to the plight of Palestinians risks normalizing a world order where the sheer use of force, rather than a rule-based system, determines state security, territorial integrity, and political independence. It was precisely to avert such a grim world order that our grandparents, witnesses of the horrors of World War II, created Europe, the letter reads. To stand idly by in the face of such an erosion of international rule of law would mean failing the European project as envisaged by them. This cannot happen in our name. The letter, shared exclusively with The Guardian, was authored by a small group of staffers, including Zeno Benetti. We couldn't believe that our leaders, who have been so vocal about human rights and described Europe as the beacon of human rights, were suddenly so silent about the crisis unfolding in Gaza, Benetti said. It's like suddenly we were asked to turn a blind eye on our values and the values that we were allegedly working for. And for us, this was not acceptable. Despite initially aiming for 100 signatures, the letter quickly garnered overwhelming support. A public version circulated on Friday omits the signatories' names, who were promised confidentiality by the organizers. The letter highlights the numerous NGOs that have repeatedly called for a ceasefire, adding, the EU's inability to respond to these increasingly desperate calls is in clear contradiction with the values that the EU stands for and that we stand for. The signatories urge the EU to officially call for an immediate and permanent ceasefire, in addition to demanding the release of all hostages, and ensuring that member states halt both direct and indirect arms exports to Israel. Benetti emphasized that the initiative was not intended to demonstrate pro-Palestinian bias or take a partisan stance on the conflict. Rather, we signed because we believe that what's happening is jeopardizing principles of international law that we deem important and that we take for granted, he said. The letter is expected to be delivered on Friday to Ursula von der Leyen, the President of the European Commission, as well as Roberta Metsola, the President of the European Parliament, and Charles Michel, who heads the European Council. It comes just weeks after more than 100 EU staffers marched through Brussels to protest against Israel's military operations in Gaza. We're coming together in a peaceful assembly to stand up for those rights, principles, and values that the European institutions are built on, European Commission staff member Manus Carlyle told Reuters at the time.